Welcome to a new documentary video. In this video we are gonna talk about Panzerschiff Deutschland. I will now inform that this video will be either 2 or 3 parts, just like the life of SMS Prince Eugen documentary. Because again, Panzerschiff Deutschland's history is big and huge, and I cannot fit everything in one video because I don't want to make too long videos. So we are gonna separate this in 2 parts and yeah, so on. Anyways, I think you have heard enough of my annoying talking, so we are gonna jump right into the main video. After Germany's defeat in World War I, Germany had to sign Treaty of Versailles. This treaty allowed Germany's new navy, Reichsmarine, to have 6 outdated ships of the lines of the Braunschweig and Deutschland classes. And in 1920, 2 more were approved as reserve units. The Allies stipulated that these units could be replaced after 20 years with ships that displacement is 10,000 tons. Although the displacement calculation was not detailed. When it was done in 1920, consideration about replacing the line ships with new ships, the plans were started in 1926. Plans for the armored cruiser appeared as early as 1927. In the defense budget of the Reichstag, this was heated debate on the matter. In the election campaign for the 1928 Reichstag elections, the SPD and KPD ran on the slogan "For feeding children against building armored ships." Both were able to register a significant increase in the number of votes. However, when the government was formed, SPD ministers Rudolf Hilferding, Karl Severing and Rudolf Wissel and the newly elected Chancellor Hermann Müller agreed to the ships to construction. They ignored the pressure from DVP. SPD parliamentary group leader Rudolf Breitscheid justified the voting behavior of social democratic ministers in the following words. By declaring our readiness to join the government, we accepted the battleship A, especially those for social policy purposes, to be more urgent than those for the construction of replacement ships. After all, we were justified assuming that our 4 ministers would vote and declare other expenditure. We were also determined to do this, but now the Democrats thwarted our plans by declaring that they would support the Social Democrats' decision in any case. This would have created a majority for rejections, and that would have meant the crisis that our comrades wanted to avoid. And I'm sorry that this is just politics currently, because, well, it's just not a thing here, because it's related to this story. I'm sorry. Deutschland's construction was started on February 5, 1929 at the Deutsche Werke shipyard in Kiel. She was built to replace the old battleship Preußen. Construction work started with the building number 219, and she was launched on May 19, 1931. Her launch was witnessed by Chancellor Heinrich Brüning. As Brüning was about to give his speech, Deutschland accidentally began to slide down the ramp. Deutschland conducted her first sea trials in November 1932. She was commissioned by the Reichsmarine on April 1, 1933. On the same day, her sister ship Admiral Scheer was launched. There were 2 other ships in the Deutschland class besides Deutschland. The earlier mentioned Admiral Scheer and Admiral Graf Spee. The length of the ships from the waterline was about 182 meters or 596 feet. The full length of the ships was 186 meters or 610 feet. Deutschland's beam was 1 meter smaller than her sister's. Her beam was 20 meters, while Admiral Scheer's and Graf's best beam was 21 meters wide. The displacement of Deutschland was 14,290 long tons. Her draft was 7.25 meters or 23 feet. Her installed power was 54,000 horsepower. Her propulsion was 8 MAN diesel engines and 2 propellers. Her speed was 28 knots, which is 52 km per hour or 32 miles per hour. And her range was 10,000 nautical miles, which is about 19,000 kilometers or 12,000 miles at 20 knots. Her complement was 33 officers and 586 enlisted crew members. And the last but not least, her armament was 6 28cm or 11-inch guns in triple turrets, which are the same guns what Scharnhorst and Gneisenau would have in the end of the 30s. She had also 8 15cm or 6-inch secondary turrets with single turrets, 3 8.8cm or 3.5-inch in single mounts, and Deutschland's armor in the main turrets was 140 or 5.5-inch armor plate, and her belt was 80mm or 3.1-inch, and her deck armor was 45mm or 1.8-inch. Deutschland also had one aircraft catapult which had carried Arado AR-196 seaplane. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War broke out. On July 23, 1936, Deutschland and Admiral Scheer were sent to evacuate Spanish diplomats and citizens. By the end of August, Deutschland had evacuated with Scheer the cities of San Sebastian, Valencia, Barcelona and Bilbao, among many others. While on that deployment, Deutschland and Scheer's guns were painted in large bands in colors black, white and red. This was used to signal that they were neutral and not involved in the conflict. By the end of October, around 15,317 people were safely evacuated by Kriegsmarine. Deutschland returned to Wilhelmshaven in August 31st. But after 1 month returning to Wilhelmshaven, Deutschland left for Spain's first intervention patrol in October 1st. At that time, the Spanish coast was ruled by Spanish Republicans. Her duties included evacuating refugees fleeing from the fighting, to protect Francisco Franco's nationalists carrying supplies and weapons, and to get intelligence information for the nationalists. Deutschland returned to Germany on November 21st. But on January 31st, 1937, Deutschland left from Kiel to her third patrol. This time she had to monitor the Spanish ships in the Mediterranean and to see if an observer from the non-intervention committee was on board, trying to avoid transporting weapons or international volunteers to join the Republicans. Basically, if you didn't understand, she was checking if the observer was on board trying to avoid other ships transporting weapons or transporting international volunteers. That's what I'm trying to say here. This one script isn't the best, but I'm sorry for that. Deutschland returned to Germany on April 1st, but already on May 10th she left on her fourth patrol. At this point in time, the Spanish coast was divided into 4. Germany was given the coast between the city of Valencia and Portugal. Deutschland did exercises with 2 British and Italian cruisers at the British base in Gibraltar. Deutschland was anchored in the port of Palma in the island of Mallorca on May 24, 1937, with other warships including British and Italian ships of their navy. Republican planes attacked the port, but the ship's anti-aircraft evicted them away. 2 days later, on May 26, torpedo boats Sea Adler and Albatros escorted Deutschland to the island of Ibiza. While she was at the anchor in the harbor, the Republicans attacked her again. 3 days later, Soviet Air Force pilots secretly flew SB-2 bombers and they bombed the ship. At the same time when the SB-2 bombers were bombing Deutschland, 4 Republican destroyers bombarded the port of Ibiza with inaccurate fire. She was hit by 2 bombs. The first hit her bridge and exploded above the armored main deck. The second hit on her starboard side near her third 15cm gun. The bomb shrapnel pierced the seaplane's fuel tanks, which immediately exploded and caught fire. This burning fuel ignited shells from Deutschland's starboard guns on fire. The first bomb explosion caused several serious fires below the deck. The attack killed 31 German sailors and wounded 74 of the sailors. After being attacked, Deutschland left the port. Deutschland and Scheer escaped to Gibraltar, where sailors who passed from the attack were laid to rest. They were given full military honors, as they should. 10 days after the attack, Hitler ordered the bodies of the fallen to be dug and to be returned to Germany for proper burial. Hitler, in a fit of rage, then ordered Admiral Scheer to attack the port of Almeria for vengeance and retribution for the attack on Deutschland. On June 15, Deutschland returned to Germany with the 31 bodies of the fallen men, and they were all properly laid to rest. For Deutschland herself, the damage sustained by the attack would take only 10 days to complete. On the first day of October that same year, a man by the name of Paul Wenneker was appointed as the new commander of Deutschland. His first assignment in this new role was to take Deutschland to Spain for patrol and to protect merchant ships. She was loaded in Italian ports during this patrol. She returned to Germany in February 1938. Deutschland had so far sailed more than 130,000 nautical miles, and that led to her engine room for needing renovation. In particular, her diesel engine mounts were too weak and they suffered from cracking. In September of 1938, there were rising tensions in the Sudeten crisis, which led to Germany making war preparations. On September 20th, Deutschland and oil tanker Samland were sent out to the Atlantic for command raid in South America. Samland was sent with Deutschland so Deutschland can have a backup supply of oil, although Deutschland first refueled her oil via a Spanish tanker. Deutschland also used a new Seeduct radar system for the first time, and she used to escape into the fog. 9 days later, the Munich Agreement was made, which prevented a war. For now at least. After all that, she did some simulations with some U-boats and did gunnery exercises in Spain. Deutschland was at Swinemünde on 23rd of March 1939 when she set off for Memel, led by Hitler. At this time, Memel was part of Lithuania and Hitler wanted Heim ins Reich. And if I'm not now wrong, Heim ins Reich means home in Reich. Deutschland, Admiral Scheer and Graspe arrived in Lithuania with several other ships, such as light cruisers Köln, Leipzig and Nuremberg, torpedo boats, several destroyers and minesweepers. When Germany had presented its ultimatum, Lithuania agreed to cede the Memel region to Germany. On April 17, Deutschland left for the Atlantic under the command of Admiral Wilhelm Marschall. During this investigation, a new way of commercial riding was practiced. The ship will serve as a reconnaissance force for the new Dithmarschen class, with filling tankers together and in the same work group. The aircraft carrier Graf Zeppelin that wasn't fully operational, still under construction Speerkreuzers and 3 destroyers who were support of Deutschland. So basically this means that these ships were support of Deutschland, and I guess Graf Zeppelin too, even though she wasn't operational, I don't know. After the exercises, the German troops made an official visit to Malaga after the victory of the Spanish nationalists in the Spanish Civil War in 1939. During the Spanish patrols in the Mediterranean, the ships of both countries started a large naval exercise, including a year earlier completed battleship Gneisenau. There were a few U-boats led by Karl Dönitz, and they were accompanied by submarine tender Erwin Wassner. Surface ships were guiding enemy forces and U-boats were simulating rudal tactic attacks. So, this was the first part of the life of Panzerschiff Deutschland. I want to thank you, Rhea, for helping me with these scripts. Without you, this would have been, I don't know, 24 hours long. So thank you for helping me, and hopefully you will help me next time too for making scripts. But yeah, next part we are moving straightly to Second World War and Deutschland's name change and her duties during the war. We'll see each other in the second part, and if you like this video, then like this video, and if you want to subscribe my channel, then subscribe my channel, but remember, nobody forces you to do that. But anyways, my name is Fireiktronomia, and we see you in the next video. Peace.